behavior. Let's talk reinforcement and motivation. Let's talk reinforcement and how it can be used the right way and how it can be used the wrong way. What works and what doesn't work. Hey, it's Dr. Ali doing a quick pop in just to help you in navigating this space called life in so many different spaces. And today I want to talk about positive and negative reinforcement and how we can use it more efficiently in our lives, in our personal and business life, in our professional lives, and what I've done before, what have worked and what hasn't worked in different spaces. So a lot of folks have different opinions when it comes to reinforcement and how it's being used. I remember when my son was younger, they thought about ABA, and this is an applied behavior analysis program that's worked for some people, but doesn't necessarily work for everyone. So some of the things I had to learn from early was what worked for my child or what works for me. And when I'm working with clients, I also begin to take that same analysis and consensus and try and figure out what works for each person. I believe reinforcement is something that everybody wants. Everyone wants to feel like as a result of this behavior, if I do this, then I will get that. If I do this, then I will get that. If I am a great student, then I get an A at the end of the class, right? If I am well behaved, then I will get whatever rewards is being done at home or at school. And as adults, we fall into the same place. We fall into the same space of how can we use reinforcement in a positive manner that can encourage you to go even further. When I work with my clients, I tend to give reinforcement in terms of celebrations, in terms of verbal reinforcement, in terms of even emotional and mental, psychological reinforcement can be given, and it makes a difference in terms of how people tend to produce or are productive in their goals or in their tasks. When they know that they do it and there's a result at the end, it helps them to go even further. So I know we have the different theories, Pavlov's theory, where sometimes as a result of if something negative is being done, then they can get stung or electrified or something that would tell you don't do that again. In this space, I tend to like to use a lot of verbal reinforcement. I remember in school situations, I used to see food being used, and I don't like to use food as a reinforcer, but I love to use a lot of encouragement words to help someone to continue to do more. So as you begin to think about how you can get more responses from other people, or you can have better relationships, or you can get more results of what you desire, think about what are some of the reinforcements that you can add that feels good not only to you, but also feels good to the other person, and that is respectful. If you guys are popping in, make sure you're subscribed, make sure you like and leave a comment. Let me know where you're coming from, and what are your thoughts when it comes to reinforcement in your home, reinforcement at your job, or reinforcement as a CEO in your business, and how do you use it effectively? What works and what doesn't work can depend on the individual. Why I don't like to use food as a reinforcement is because I feel like if every time someone does something, they're going to always expect food to be given as a reinforcement, as a good job. Like, a puppy. If a puppy does a great job, if they go and fetch, they get that little treat at the end. I like to use words of encouragement because I feel words also have the same amount of positive, high vibratory effect. You did a really good job. I'm super proud of you. We just came from a field day with some of the students with hearing impairments, and just being around others and getting the high fives and the cheers and the you did it makes a child feel very, very good about themselves, and it makes them want to do that behavior again. It makes me think about adults and how sometimes we tend to lose the effect of giving reinforcers to help to promote that behavior, to help to promote that experience from happening again. You want it to happen again. So we have to be able to give each other reinforcement, positive reinforcement. Now, when it comes to negative reinforcement, how does that pan out? I sometimes Negative reinforcement comes into play when it comes into we don't want to have this behavior done. We don't want words to be said, or I would think about my son, and there were times when he would get a little fresh, he would get a little outside of himself. So I had to learn what were good, effective negative reinforcers to let him know that this is not a behavior that I'd like to have repeated again. So for our household, it might be removal of his phone, or it might be having a conversation and letting them know, I don't approve of this behavior. You could also use verbal reinforcers in a negative aspect by letting them know that this is not okay. This is not something that we tolerate at this home. Folks, when they're setting boundaries, they may tend to use verbal reinforcers, or letting folks know, if you are going to treat me this way, if you're going to speak to me this way, then as a result of that, this is the response that you're going to get from me. Meaning, if I give you this response as a negative reinforcement, I don't want you to repeat that action again. So I think in this space and time that we're at, we need to learn more effective manners of what works and what doesn't work, and try to find one that feels good within your being, feel good within your space, and that it does impact the other person in the same way. Verbal reinforcers are super beneficial. They're helpful. They can be used in ways that can really promote more of that action. And you can also find a logical way, or a more responsible way of using negative reinforcers, where you don't have to curse a person out. You don't have to have an attitude. It doesn't have to come with all those other things that may throw your own energy off and throw the other person's energy off. And it could be just a really clear statement of, I am not okay with that. There are other ways of doing that. There's other ways of having this conversation of me. I am not in the space of listening to that, or I will not receive being spoken to or treated like that. So learning communicative and learning effective manners of giving reinforcers to others will help you to become more motivated, and it would help you to become more confident and more empowered within yourself to be able to manage an environment around you. So first, we got to be responsible for the reinforcers and how we administer it or deliver it to others. And we also have to be responsible for how others are going to administer it to us. Because just like everyone else, we love to hear good job. We love to hear, praise at the end of things. But we also want to learn from something to know that if that doesn't work and there's other ways of doing it, how we can have those effective conversations and communicate those aspects. We're going to share more about that when I do my 3-day Courageous Conversations Challenge, which is going to be May 28th to 30th upon this recording. And if you want to learn more strategies on how to have better, effective conversations and communication, then definitely join us for that. Make sure you're subscribed to this channel. Make sure you are tuned in, locked into all the information. I come live pretty much Monday through Friday, almost every single day between 12 and 1, 12 and 2 during my lunch. And I'll just come in and just share other motivational communication strategies, clarity space, connectivity spaces on how we can be better people for ourselves and be better people for the environment and others that we're around, whether it's at home and in our environment, our family, or our relationships at home, or whether it's a professional space, whether we're going out there and engaging with others at work, and or if we are CEOs or entrepreneurs and we are doing this regarding our teams, with our clients, with other CEOs, then we got to have effective communicative space, communicative. There's so many ways of saying it. Me and my accent, we never know which way is going to come out my mouth. But we want to be able to feel more connected to how we're able to express ourselves and receive things so that we can be better wherever we are. Communication is key, and I'm always going to be trying to share with you more strategies on how you can become more motivated in that space of communication and feel as if you have more power over those around you, and most importantly within yourself, to navigate your spaces more effectively. Catch you next time. I hope you receive this. Make sure you share this with someone you love and admire and think needs to hear this information. And I'll catch you tomorrow. Have an amazing day.